everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Emily and I hope you love books because that's what we talk about here. Today is my favorite video to film every month and that is choosing my TBR. Today we are going to be using the TBR jar. A few videos ago I filmed books that I want to finish by the end of the year, and that includes like my fall TBR, series that I want to finish or catch up on, as well as 24 books I chose off of my physical TBR that I want to finish by the end of the year. That is what's on this cart. I have 2 shelves of books on the smaller shelf behind this cart that are full of books I still have to read as well, but we're not looking at those today. We're just going to look at what's on this cart because at the end of September, so going into October, I will have 54 books left to read on this cart, and I need to clear this cart by the end of the year. That means I have to read 18 books off of this cart every month for the next 3 months to be able to clear this. So that's going to be a challenge, but one that I'm willing to tackle because I do want to go into the new year with my TBR, physical TBR, around 50. And right now it's about double that. So that is the goal. And we shall see in a few months where I end up. But today we'll be choosing 18 books off of this cart that I will be focusing on reading in October. It will be a challenge to read that many physical books. I do have 2 Kindle books that are on that list as well. They're not all physical, but I do have a vacation week in October and not too much going on with November and December. It's going to be more difficult because it's the end of the year, things are happening, it's the holidays. It's going to be harder to hit that 18. So I really need to hit it in October to have a chance at even being close in the next 2 months. So we're going to be optimistic. The first 3 books out of the 18 I'm going to choose, we're not going to use the jar for, because in order to keep up with the Shadowhunters universe, which I have been attempting to read the entirety of this year, if you've been following along, I need to read The Dark Artifices. So I will be reading Lady Midnight, Lord of Shadows, and Queen of Darkness. Those are the first 3 books we're putting on the TBR. You can see why this month's going to be challenging. These books are all 600 pages or bigger. I think this one's close to 1,000. So starting off with a bang. All right, 15 more books. There are books on the back. I guess I can bring them to the front now that I removed those. Okay, so the rest of the ones on the back that you can't see are Shadowhunters books that I'm going to be reading in November and December, so don't worry about those. We shall now use the TBR jar to pick the other 15 books. There are books that I will be reading that are not on here, but I have nothing coming in October. So there's no books I need to consider that are being released that I've already pre-ordered that I want to read by the end of the year. So everything on here, these are our options. Start with the first prompt because I've done enough chitty-chatty already. There's 2. Oh no, that's just 1. Okay. First prompt, a YA novel. And I think I know which one I want to pick for this because of the month. Just making sure I don't have any other options. Okay, so I think I'm going to pick Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This is the first book in this series. And Foxglove just came out in paperback, so I do want to pick that up when I get a chance. Trying not to buy too many books before the end of the year, though, to keep that physical TBR down. But I believe this is some type of romance between this girl and the devil, or like death himself, and I guess like she has some type of a curse that she passes on to people in her family and they end up dying because they spend time with her or something. I'm not exactly sure, and that's okay. We'll go into it pretty blind, but I've heard mixed reviews about this series. Some people love this book and don't like Foxglove, and now more lately I've been hearing people didn't like this book and love Foxglove, so I don't know what to believe. But we're going to start it. And so the 4th book on the TBR is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. Next prompt is Has Been Adapted. Ooh, I don't know that I have one. I don't know that I have one. We may have to skip this one because I will be skipping ones that do not pull off this cart because the goal is to get off it. Oh, nope, have one right here. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is the prequel to The Hunger Games. I have never read this. I read The Hunger Games back in high school, but I've never read this one, and I got this off of a coworker of my sister who was clearing out her bookshelves, and I've been wanting to get this and read it, so now we're going to have the chance to. And my understanding is this is just Snow's story. Whatever he is. The grand hoo-ha, whatever I forget what his title is in the books, but this is when he is a child. All right, so that's 5, 13 more books to pick. It's gonna be a long one, guys, so hope you're ready. Next prompt is a Kindle Unlimited Read Perfect. So I do want to try to focus on books that are on Kindle Unlimited as well as I have physically, because I am going to the beach, so I can read on my Kindle and then just put the book on my trophy shelf when I get back. And I believe Belladonna is, so that's already one. Now I can either pick one off here that's a Kindle Unlimited read, or the 2 that are on Kindle Unlimited that are on my 24 to finish in 2024 are Quicksilver and the 3rd Zodiac Academy book. I don't remember what it's called, but the 3rd one in that. And I think I'm going to pick that. I think I'm going to pick the 3rd book in the Zodiac Academy because I read the 2nd one about a week ago and devoured it. So I think that'll be one that will be like really easy for me to get through, and it'll be like a great beach read because the vibes are there for that. So that is book 6. I don't know why I have to like lip that up so that you guys know that I'm not cheating. Like, I'm literally just picking up a folded piece of paper. Blue on the cover. A lot of options. I have a lot of blue books. I think I'm between First Lie Wins and I'm not gonna be able to get this out. The Lost Story. Both are like good vibes for October. Let's see how long they are. Just trying to pick some shorter books. I have to read the long ones eventually though, so it's 322 pages. They're probably very similar. 338. There's really no difference there. Okay. I think I'm gonna go with The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer because I read The Wishing Game by her earlier this year and I absolutely adored that book, and I've been kind of chomping at the bit to get to this book. And it is kind of magical realism, so I think it's the perfect kind of book to read in October when it's witchy vibes and everything. So from my understanding, this is like a little Narnia-esque retelling, just more magical realism than actual fantasy, because these 2 boys went missing into this like mystery world or something when they were younger, and they came back but only one remembers what happened, and now this girl comes to find them for help because her sister is missing and she thinks that the same thing happened to her sister. That's all I know. That's all I want to know. I didn't know anything about The Wishing Game really going into it, and I really enjoyed it, so we're gonna continue that trend. And the next book, which is book 7, is The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. Okay, book 8. Has a prologue, epilogue. Most books do. So what do I want to read? What do I want to read? I say most books do, and then I don't actually think the book that I want to pick does. I'm reading Keeping 13 right now, and I really want to read Joey's story. But I don't think these have had epilogues and prologues. Glossary. Oh, there's a preface. Does that... Oh, there is a prologue. There's a prologue. I'm picking Saving 6. This is... Oh, gosh. I'm going to have to figure out how to say her name. Hold on. Joey and Eve's book. And I'm seeing more of them in Keeping 13 than we have before. And I think their story's going to be heartbreaking, but I'm excited to read it because you're seeing more and more about, like, I think it was explained, not I think, it was explained in Keeping 13 how they met, and I think that's really sweet, and I just loved them in the other 2 books. So adding this one, and I do need to read, I mean, there's 3 left, so if I read one in October, I can read one in November and one in December. Perfect to finish out the year. That is the 3rd book in the Boys of Tommen series. It is a YA romance series about this group of friends, and you follow Johnny and Shannon in the first 2 books, and then it will be Joey and Eve in the second 2, and then the 5th book is Gibbsy and Claire. So you're just following different ones, and I think these 2 books happen around the same time frame as the Binding and Keeping 13, so might be a little bit of repetitive stuff, but the stories are very separate in the books. Next book in a series. Oh, that's perfect too, because I know what other book I want to pick for this. Because again, I have 3 left, and I can read 1 a month for the next 3 months, and that is the next book in the Twisted series by Anna Huang. This is Twisted Games, and it is a bodyguard romance. What is her name? Bridget and Reese, who is her bodyguard, and she is like a princess to some, I think, made-up country in here. So, bodyguard, employer, romance. I enjoyed the first one, which I guess a lot of people don't like, so the fact that I liked the first one makes me think I'll like the rest of them, but that's it. That's the next book, next in a series. Doing pretty good. It's only been like 13 minutes filming, and we're at 9 books, so we're halfway. 9 more to go. An animal on the cover. I also think I know which one I'm going to pick for this. It helps when I'm like very minimal on my books because I know what's on here and I know what they look like. And I think I'm going to go with Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo because, again, I think this is the perfect kind of book for October. It is fantasy magical realism kind of thing. We're following Alex Stern, who has this like ability to see what they call the gray people, which are dead people that appear during, what's the word? Ceremonies and rituals and stuff that these elite societies at Yale are doing, and she goes there to basically keep them away from the ceremony because they can like ruin what's going on and can cause harm to people. So this is the second book in that. There is like another story along with that. That's the gist of what she does, but there is like an underlying story about her mentor who has gone missing and everyone thinks he's dead, but she's convinced that he's like in some other type of a world. That's all I got. But I enjoyed a Ninth House, and I think there's going to be a 3rd book because if you look on her website, it's called the Alex Stern Trilogy. So there should be 3 books, but I have not seen anything about when the next one's coming out. So just get caught up on that, and whenever she decides to release it, she releases it. A new release. Okay, I have a few there. Few options, and I think which one I'm going to pick because I don't really have any fluffy, oh, I guess I do. I think I'm going to go with Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver because this is on Kindle Unlimited. I can read this at the beach. This is the 2nd book in the Rose Hill series, and it is Wes and, what's her name? Skylar, who I believe is like a pop star or something. They talk about her in the first book, but you don't really like meet her, that I remember. And this series is all single dad. So Wes is the brother of Rosie, who was the main character in the first book. So very excited for this. I haven't heard too much about it yet. I feel like people enjoy it. I just don't know that this series is for everybody because if you don't like single dad, you're probably not going to like this series. But Heartless was my 2nd favorite book in the Chestnut Spring series. So Elsie Silver writes it in a way that I like it. And I also can read that on vacation. So I think Hellbent and Twisted Games and Saving Six. Which one is this? Saving Six. I believe those are all on Kindle Unlimited. So we're doing good with picking books that I don't have to actually physically take with me on vacation. Next one, I don't know what number we're on, but I know I have to pick a few more. Chapter titles. What do I want to read? Trying to pick ones that I know are in a series where I have to read some. No, those are just names. That's just chapter. I just saw a whole bunch of stuff in this when I'm like flipping through this that this is going to be a very, very spicy book. Wow. This has chapter titles though. Maybe we'll go for it because I can usually read Allie Hazelwood's books pretty quickly and I've been wanting to read this. I bought it pretty much right after it came out and I just haven't got to it yet. So This is a workplace romance. I think their companies are merging or something, so they're like a little bit like workplace enemies, but it's a very physically driven relationship from what I've read, and she does warn you in the front that it is more of an, what does she call it? Erotic romance than like the normal STEMinist ones that she's been writing. But I think it still kind of falls in line with the STEMinist. Because I think it's like she's a biotech engineer, so it is still like a STEMinist, but a little spicier than her normal ones, which her books usually aren't too spicy, so we'll see. I'll count after maybe 2 more to see how many more we have to pick. A book I know nothing about. What do I know nothing about? I see one that I really don't know anything about. I think that's the only one. I think I'm gonna go with this one though. Put another thriller on here. Middle Tide by Sarah Crouch is a thriller. Don't know much about it, don't really want to, but it's apparently very atmospheric and gripping. So this just looks like a good spooky thriller book too. So it's just like a small town thriller. I don't want to know too much about it going in. This is another book I got from my sister's coworker. She got it through Book of the Month. I almost did. I can't remember what I picked instead that month, but this was an option I had. So when I saw that she had it, I was like, yeah, I'd like to read that. So that is the next pick. 13, so 5 more books. This is just one. Okay, I thought it was 2. Most recently hauled. I think it's this book, but I'm trying to think if I've bought any other ones recently. I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's this one. Because I got this and Wild Eyes at the same time at the beginning of September. Yeah, so Shadows of Pearl, which is by J.L. and the second book in the House of Marion series. And I loved that book. I don't know, like, I found it at Target on sale and just kind of read it because it looked cool. And these books are gorgeous underneath too. This is like someone that actually cares what their hard covers look like underneath the dust jackets, and I love that. So this is essentially like I think it's like a fantasy romance YA novel where this girl knew she had powers but wasn't ever really allowed to use them, and then gets taken in to the house to this one school where her grandmother, I believe, is like the headmistress essentially, and she is taught how to use her powers, and you have to go through these 3 trials in order to even be accepted into one of the 4 houses. And there's a little bit of a romance with her trainer, mentor, whatever you want to call him. And the first book ended off on a pretty good cliffhanger, so I'm excited to see what the rest of it has. And so many, like, Ali Hazelwood is blurbed on the front, and then Stephanie Garber, Alex Astor, Sabaa Tahir, Carrie Maniscalco, like the people on this book that have blurbed it makes me very excited. Okay, 4 more. I'm actually picking pretty quick for the fact that I had to pick 18 books. First book in a series. Oh, no, I know what I'm going to pick. I think I really only have one option. Because I already picked Belladonna, and that was the other one. I'm going to choose King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book in this duology. The second book is Rule of Wolves. And this is a Grishaverse novel that follows, what are their names? Nikolai and Zoya. And you meet them in Shadow and Bone more. Nikolai's a little bit in the Six of Crows duology, but they're more in like the first series. And I really liked both of those characters. I love Nikolai. So I'm very excited to get 2 books where he's one of the main characters in it. I don't know really what's going to go on in this, other than there's probably going to be some type of like adventure they go on. And he was like a prince or something. Yeah. So he was a prince. So maybe it's like him trying to reclaim his throne. I don't exactly know. And I don't want to give too much away about what happened with him. So that is the next one. I think I have 3 more. We'll count again after this one. Too many books. Published this year. I think this one was. I know another one that was. This is an option. This is an option. No, I know that one wasn't. I don't think that one was. This is an option. I could finish out this series. Funny story was, I could read Funny Story and then be caught up on Emily Henry because she just announced a new book. I forget what it's called, but she just announced it. I think I'm going to do that because that's my sister's book, so that'll also get that book back to her. This was published this year, right? I'm not crazy. I mean, I know I'm crazy, but I think I'm right about this. Yeah. Funny Story by Emily Henry. A romance between two people whose partners left them for each other, if that makes sense. And they're kind of picking up the pieces after that happens to them, and they move in together to get through it because they're in weird situations now. I've heard mixed reviews again. Some people love this, some people don't. So I'm a fan of Emily Henry's. I wouldn't say I'm obsessed with her books, but there have been a few that I've really enjoyed. So we shall see. I've heard the guy in this one's kind of funny. Like, he's more of the emotional one. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard about it. 16. Two more books. Oh boy. A thriller. I think I know which one I'm going to pick because it is the last book. It's a thriller. It's the last book I have to read on my 24 in 2024. I'm going to be too short because 2 books that were supposed to come out this year that I put on that got delayed. But this is the only one left on that TBR. So I'm going to read The Only One Left by Riley Sager. And this is like a Lizzie Borden-esque retelling, I believe, which again is perfect for this time of year. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going to read. I hate that this isn't the full front cover, but whatever. That doesn't usually bother me. I don't know why it's bothering me today. But this is about a girl that goes to like be a caretaker for this woman who is accused of, but never found guilty of, I believe, killing her family. And she tells her the story, I believe, through like letters that she writes on a typewriter. We will see. And the last book for my October TBR, book 18, takes place in a different country. Well, I know one that I could read. Okay, so this does, because I believe this takes place in Shanghai. I think these are US. That technically takes place in a different country, but because it's a fake country. This, I don't know why I'm looking. This book takes place in a different country. I do not believe Twisted Hate does. This may be Canada. That just fell down. Toronto. So this takes place in a different country. This obviously takes place in a different country, but I'm not reading 2 of those in 1 month, especially since Redeeming 6 is massive. I think I'm going to pick between one of these. What do I want to do to myself? Please hold while I contemplate. These are all very different options. Oh, the options are Our Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, the last book to catch up in the Magnolia Park series, which is Into the Dark, and Jane and Edward by Melody Edwards. So fantasy romance, rip your heart out drama romance, and romance. Romance modern retelling, reimagining, whatever you call them. I think I'm going to take Magnolia Parks out because it is massive, and I have those like 3 massive books to read already. Let me organize, hold on a second, and see how many fantasy versus romance versus thrillers I have. Okay, I don't have as many thrillers as I thought I did. So I may pick this because I think this takes place in France. This takes place in France. So I may do this one because I only have 2 thrillers. And I have 5 romance, and 10 fantasy. So I'm not picking a fantasy. So you're definitely out of the running. But I think I'm going to go with a thriller. I think I'm going to go with the Chateau. It takes place in France. And it's about these girls that went to They did study abroad together and visited this old woman, and now they're back at the chateau that she, I don't know if she owned it, and then one of them ends up dead and there's a mystery. That's all I got. Typical thriller. Somebody dies and you have to figure out who did it. So there's that one. And now I will rearrange and get back to you in a minute. Okay, I've got a lot of books that have to go onto the top of this. I do move these onto a different bookshelf once I start the month, but until September is fully over, they stay here. So first book is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. Lord of Shadows, also by Cassandra Clare. And finally on that is the Queen of Air and Darkness. And that is The Dark Artifices. It's what I need to read. This book got stuck up there. It's what I need to read to keep on track to finish the Shadowhunter series by the end of the year. Do romance next, because I just have these separated now. So for published this year, I chose Emily Henry's Funny Story. For next book in a series, I picked Twisted Games by Anna Huang. New release is Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. Chapter titles is Not in Love by Allie Hazelwood. Has a prologue or epilogue, I picked Saving Six by Chloe Walsh. Takes place in a different country, The Chateau by Jacqueline Goldis. A thriller, I chose The Only One Left by Riley Sager. For a book I know nothing about, I chose Middletide by Sarah Crouch. For a book with an animal on the cover, I chose Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. Most recently hauled is Shadows of Pearl by J.L. A YA novel, Belladonna by Adeline Grace. A book that has been adapted, I chose Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. First book in a series, King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. A book with blue on the cover, The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. And a Kindle Unlimited read, I'm reading the third Zodiac Academy book. I don't remember what it's called, but that will be book 18. So that is 18 books off of this cart that I'm going to attempt to read in October to clear this cart before the end of the year. So let me know if you've read any of them. I might just do like a weekly vlog reading through all of these just so that accountability keeps me accountable for reading my books. So, and you can see if I'm getting through the 18 that I need to by the end of the month. And that brings us to the end of the video. Let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know if you want to know anything in particular about any of these. If I really need to get to one first in the month of October, let me know in the comments. And let me know what you're most looking forward to reading in October. And I thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.